Our next set of conversations would be under the banner of the state of political parties in Nigeria. Ahead of the 2026 and 2027 elections, particularly 2027, there's been large debates on mega parties, coalitions, strategies on grounds, and how parties plan to approach the elections. But the main issue is on the state of their households. There are certain internal crises in the key major political parties that will be looking to wrestle the APC for the presidential seat in 2027. Is their house in order? Is a big question. Now, looking to answer these questions as we dialogue on the issue, I'm joined by a public affairs professional and the convener of One Heart Initiative for Equity and Good Leadership, Hashim Suleiman. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Second time,
nice
I believe.
Yeah, second time here. It's
Third
always
time
nice
will
to be here.
A charm.
Yeah.
As they say. Now, it's no news that over time now, the states of even the ruling party, the APC, has been called to question by Nigerians who've spotted little fractures here and there. But the large one that has continued to create a ruckus is the People's Democratic Party.
Yeah.
The position of the national scribe, the national secretary, has been the bane of conversations over time. The NWC has looked to wade in and settle the issue, but even party stalwarts have pointed to the fact that the position of the national chairmanship is still in question. When we talk the state of political parties in Nigeria, and we'll be looking to look at each party as much as time affords. Let's start with the People's Democratic Party and your opinion of how their house is. Is it in order?
So, as is with practically every institution in Nigeria, institutions are managed by human beings, and then the quality of the thinking of those human beings and how much they're then able to hold on to their convictions matter a whole lot. This morning I was hearing a tribute that was being given to Pa Edwin Clark, blessed memory, and people did allude to the fact that he was somebody who held on to his convictions. I mean, you might not agree with him all of the time, but then indeed he did hold on to his conviction. But look at his age, and I'm trying to arrive at something. So if you watch how the ease with which people could hold on to their convictions kept on reducing, and here we are today. So basically, I think that's basically what it is about and that's why you also see that the crack supposedly that is supposed to be in APC might be a little down the radar. Why? Because, our politics is a zero-sum game. The winner takes all. So people will still probably want to be there and be patient that something will come to me. And some people are even going there from the various political parties. And if you look at it, is the political parties have basically, because of all of these things I'm saying, have become just vehicles for people to ride on and get to various offices. So the PDP is basically suffering from all of that. But regardless, if you want to be a little critical and understand how politics work, you cannot say it's all over for them, because at least they still have some sizable number of governors, some of them in some of the economically viable states of Nigeria. And then even the issue of the national secretary you're saying, I saw this morning on X that the party wrote some letter to one of the states where to Anambra State chapter, where they're going to do the primaries and all that. And the secretary, the John Ode man, was the one who signed for the national secretary alongside the acting national chairman. So perhaps you will see a semblance of the fact that, if you go back even in time, they always pride themselves as a party that always has the internal mechanism to be able to sort their issues. So with this development that we've seen, that they've perhaps sorted the national secretary part, could it be that they're actually on the way to redeeming themselves before the 2027 elections? Is left to be seen, because now they fixed the neck for March something, I think 13th or so, tentatively. At the last meeting the governors held in Asaba or somewhere. So perhaps they might probably be on the road to sorting themselves out.
Now, the PDP national chairman, Alhaji Umar Damagum, has been blamed by some political analysts, saying that he should bear the blame for what is happening to the PDP in terms of its leadership. Is there any substance to that claim?
Yeah, so the thing is, he equally came out to explain, and a whole lot of people probably feel that, and he also said, is he applied wisdom in the management of all of these things, because recall that the Rivers State House of Assembly members, now the contention is that they decamped at a time when the party was not divided at the center. So people like Damagum are making a point that what if they had allowed the crisis that people want to fester, do you understand, without actually applying wisdom and leadership? That means those members of the House who probably have today had an alibi why they would have defected. Do you understand what I mean?
We'll talk about the defection.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so
we'll talk about the defection.
So when you say, you probably want to now point to specific things that Damagum has done to say maybe he destabilized the party. Do you understand? Because the thing is...
Hashim, not even things he have done. Yeah. In terms of how he came into the position, the former national chairman,
he was suspended from his ward. That is...
We're talking about the fact that the North Central ought to be the one to fill up that position in terms of the party's arrangement.
Great.
And with Damagum in that position, the grievance amongst North Central party chieftains who thought it might have been their time to complete your chair use tenure.
Yeah, I do understand that, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like, at the time that it's not Damagum's fault that Yoche Ayu had issue with his ward and he had to go. And then he came in, but when he came in, the party was in the middle of major crisis. Wiki, they had just come out from a presidential. So do you want to just start to initiate that? Even when you say North Central should take over, is another new politics you're going to start, because there are also stakeholders, interested stakeholders, like the former governor of Benue. He was in the G5, remember?
Yes.
Definitely he's a stakeholder in the North Central. No. Otom. You understand? He's just a governor that just left. So definitely his influence will still be there. So even if you say North Central, okay, fine. Come on, it's still going to be crisis. So I think it wasn't so bad that it was allowed to take... And if you look, things are gradually sorting themselves out now. And like I told you, they themselves have come out to say that they have neck in March. So we'll wait to now see what comes out, because the last neck also was sort of rancorous. There was the caucus meeting, and people were even wondering what Wiki was doing in the meeting. So you can see that at that time, still the crisis were some sort of... but I think now that there is agreement between all of the governors that there's going to be a neck in March, and then the national secretary matter has also been sorted now. We'll wait to see. That is not to say that all of the challenges that will come with institutions in Nigeria are not apparent. Do you understand? People are even leaving the party in droves. You can understand.
Let's talk about this defection, because that's where you headed before I interrupted. We're told that under a calendar year, from 2024 to 2025, over 300 PDP stalwarts chieftains have defected. We saw recently, even on the floor of the red and green chambers in the 10th National Assembly.
Absolutely.
Key senators and House of Rep members also jumping ship.
Yes, absolutely. They're moving. Like I told you, it's a zero-sum game. It is a winner-takes-all situation in Nigeria. And, I mean, you will not blame anybody for that, because we're a developing democracy. We're still trying to get there. We're still trying to be at that level where people will be economically sound enough to make sound convictions and stick to them. But so that's what it is at the moment, and people are indeed moving. But plus, again, I think it's obvious to practically everybody at this point that perhaps the president is getting it right, and so it might even be difficult to actually garner enough opposition points to be able to get him out. Maybe they're actually just giving themselves...
Because that's another school of thought, because I've seen it on front pages saying that the fact that we're seeing massive defections is a reflection of what the
workability
is doing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But in one state, this issue of defections has torn apart the states. It was the bane for the fracas we saw between the PDP and APC in Rivers State, because this issue of defections and the fact that those seats should be vacated and the whole court saga has continued to embroil Rivers State in quite the ugly front and back between the lawmakers, the Okojumbo-led faction of the State House Assembly. Walk us through that, because some people say if you emerge under the umbrella of a party and you win an elected position to represent a constituency, it needs to take some interpretation of what will constitute your grievance to leave that umbrella that shielded you and then jump over to another party to begin yet another fresh aspiration.
But that's if people who aspire to elections in Nigeria are actually independent. Remember that people do sponsor them there. So definitely he who pays the piper will dictate the tune. And so therefore, all of those members you're seeing there, they're not on their own. Their sponsors or their bosses have different interests, perhaps from the governor, and so they'll have to go with their sponsor. And I think that's just basically it, and there's no crime about that.
Now, it's going to be a tough one for some political sponsors to chew, and in shaping 2027, we've talked about the PDP, without which their neck meeting in March, and then we'll probably revisit the conversation. Let's come back to the Labour Party. A prominent figure is their presidential candidate in the last elections, 2023. He made quite the strong call. He says that he's not looking for any coalition, except that coalition is to serve the greater good of Nigeria. People have talked about the fact that in carrying the party along, he's not really worked with the national chairman. That position too has also been under quite the threat, the Julius Aburel-led faction. Let's get your opinion on the Labour Party.
So the thing is that when you see, and that's the thing with, like I told you earlier, about perhaps the workability of whatever it is that APC is doing, because it then sends jitters or doubt to the minds of those who are even trying to do all of the coalition and all of that. So if you hear Mr. Peter Obi saying he's not going into any arrangement for power grab, you will feel perhaps he feels even if he does, he might not do much, and that's why he's thinking, okay, then, but otherwise, you want to question that what political parties are basically vehicles to get to power, actually. So when you say you don't want to join any coalition to get power, one may wonder what it is that you're really talking about. Because
is it probably the hints of these conversations on single candidacy? Because he gained quite the popularity, take it or leave it, on social media. And that was where this notion of the fact that a single candidacy in Nigeria should be in the conversation started from. Do you think that is where he's tilting towards too? Is Nigeria ripe for it? How would that shape up our political landscape?
But even if he's thinking towards that, he probably doesn't have enough like minds, democratically speaking, to be able to pull that through. So I don't know to what end that would take anybody. But I feel that it's just part of the interplay of the whole politics. It's all part of perhaps the interplay of how Peter Obi must be stopped from joining the coalition. He should rather run alone. So again, it will be advantage to some other political parties. I see it more from that point of view more than of him trying to look towards being a independent candidate. So these are the interplays that are going on. But whether anybody likes it or not, at the moment, APC seems to be comfortable as far as the game is right now. We don't know what will come up in the future, but politically speaking, but majorly, I think, I like your opening about how political parties need to be developed. But if you look at the concept of the formation of political parties in itself, right from get-go, we had already more of derailed. Because look, beyond just contesting elections and winning, after winning elections, what do the political parties do again afterwards? I mean, during governance, how much do they participate in orientation of the masses to understand democratic norms more, to understand voter education, to understand political, to even mentor them on how they could actually build on all of these convictions, so that people will actually, if they believe in PDP, they do believe in PDP and its ideology, because they've been mentored. And that's why you will see developed democracies like America, all the parties, they have their institutes that are not only operating in America and even moving out to continue to spread democratic ideals. How much do you see all of that? No, you don't. So therefore, as far as it is right now, political parties still remain vehicles to simply get on and win elections, and probably also participate in governance when there is a victory.
Now, we'll talk about this party ideologies and strategies of political party, especially with youth involvement at the grassroots shortly. But let's talk about a visit that became quite a conversation last week, if I'm not forgetting. It was the visit of the former VP to his former principal. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar visited the former president Olusegun Obasanjo in his Abeokuta residence. He was in the company of the former Cross River State Governor, former Sokoto State Governor, and then Senator Abdul Ningi. And a lot of persons tagged it the 2027 strategy. Only shortly for the former VP to come out and dismiss it, and he said it was just private business.
It's just a private visit, yeah. And then even if you want to say it's 2027 strategy, really, can these people still really pull any strings? Maybe apart from perhaps helping any candidate to be able to win the party primaries, but can they really necessarily influence anything as far as the voting is concerned? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. The social media has taken over everything. The conversations, the masses. They also have other politicians, younger politicians that have emerged now that are also controlling a chunk of these people here and there. So the question to ask is, how much, maybe apart from influence at the top, like I said, at political party levels, and the candidate at least having less issues with emerging in his political party? Because, I mean, if you check back in the years 2019 and 2023, Atiku has, against all odds, been able to emerge through the PDP. Do you understand? 2019 was still tough. It was even held in Port Harcourt. People thought Tambuwal was going to make it, but he went there to everybody's shock and grabbed the ticket. And then again, 2023, Wike was out. You know, there was the whole, until on the day of the elections, Tambuwal stepped down, and then he was able to. So perhaps, maybe, those are the sort of, how will I say, roadblocks that he's trying to clear off the way by those visits, but not necessarily.
You know, one thing that I find interesting, especially with this point that you raised, is people talk about the technical guidelines in terms of when intentions are supposed to declare as outlined by INEC, the window given for campaigns and all that. And they're saying that even if that was the case, we shouldn't expect His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to tell Nigerians that was his intent while visiting him. Yeah. But the interesting part, especially with reference to His Excellency Aminu Tambuwal, is that he was part of that delegation.
He was part of that delegation.
In light of what you're saying, do you think that there might be this unspoken gentleman agreement under the PDP that should 2027 emerge, I had stepped down for you, and could we have a consensus in shaping who carries the party's flag going into 2027?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I'm sure about...
Do you think Alhaji Atiku Abubakar will be open to that conversation?
No, he certainly won't be.
Do you think it is his birthright to continue to run under the PDP?
So you won't say birthright per se. I think the thing that is at play here is, I mean, if you go back to Buhari tried how many times? 3 times, or about 4 times before he made it. So that means that if you look at that in politics, there is merit in consistency. There is merit in trying again. So at the moment, I think all of them, including Tambuwal and everybody, do agree that perhaps Atiku still remains one last chance, since, especially because of the other opponent in Asuwaju, they are more like,
because
they are more like,
was very closely contested.
Yeah. So they are more like contemporaries, to say. Do you understand what I mean? Because a Tambuwal will certainly not be a match for Asuwaju. No, not at all. Of course, they are not on that par network-wise. The experience in the game and what have you. That's not to say he's not a fine politician at all. So the thing is, I think they have agreed based on that entourage that you're seeing. I think Tambuwal, since from that 2023, has agreed that, okay, I can follow this trajectory and perhaps it might be able to be a best ladder for me to get to my own political aspirations. So I think, but again, is like I told you, what is imminently the major challenge for Atiku Abubakar is under what platform am I even going to emerge?
And then who might be running?
Running mate will come later, but the platform, why? Because PDP is in turmoil, like we're saying, we have agreed now they're in crisis, we're waiting to see. But they appear like they're on the way to try to fix it. We're not sure. Wike is not talking yet on all of these things. Maybe when he starts to talk, he could.
I think we should talk about it.
So can you see that Atiku has a major challenge about platform right now? So,
I agree with you.
So definitely that means all of these visits are probably at trying to solve that problem first of all, then before you move into other things.
Now this brings the FCT minister into the equation. Under the G5, you saw how instrumental they were in terms of, let me put it, the lords of the party. Because up till to date, the FCT minister, His Excellency Chief Nelson Wike, continues to say that he is the PDP, and the PDP cannot sanction him for whatever alleged anti-party activities, especially with the role he played in the emergence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the 2023 general elections.
Definitely.
At that point when an individual continues to dare a party that is in turmoil and is one of the favorites ministers of the current
administration.
president. What does this do to a party on which he continues to say he is a member and he's not even, if he were to leave to the APC, it would be better, but it almost feels as though he is the, I don't want to use the word, but he's the one within.
So it's because of Nyesom Wike, His Excellency, it's because of him that it is apparent that Atiku has a major block to picking the party ticket easily. Do you understand what I mean? And that is why I tell you, it's because of him simply. Because if he's out of it...
Might this be a strategic ploy by the APC?
Oh, certainly. But of course, he's the minister in the government. What do you expect? And of course, I think he has even long said it in Port Harcourt there when he took his friends to do something last year. He had already said he's going to support Asuwaju for 2027. So, of course, politics is strategy, and then it's left to everyone. And the major thing is that he's not breaking any law. He's a member of the party. There's nothing, he hasn't done any crime.
Now, this question would lead us to our next conversation. Just hold your thoughts. Let's look to accommodate another guest who joins virtually on the program this morning. We're joined by Suleiman Mohammed Basheer, PhD, a political scientist, and a public affairs commentator. Good morning to you, sir. Can you hear me? I'm trying to make right of your sound. Just check that you haven't muted yourself on your device.
Good morning, sir. I'm happy to
Good morning to you.
Mr. Amin, to join you this morning. And
thank you for asking. I'm doing very well.
Thank you. Hello?
Now let's pick it up from where Hashim left it. We're talking about the PDP, the APC, in terms of the role that the FCT minister is playing. Is he playing more of the APC tune? He's declared his loyal support for his principal, the president. But on these allegations of anti-party and him being the stumbling block towards the party ticket being given to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, what do you make of these assertions?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and I'm happy to be in this particular platform this morning. What I can say here is, you see, political parties generally, from the perspective of the liberal system, it is a system that flourishes on the basis of ideology. Now, once parties depart away from this ideology, then the party, loses its, relevance within the political system, and it can no longer contribute its quota towards development. As far as I'm concerned, Nyesom Wike is actually his role of being a member of political PDP and at the same time serving under the APC government is actually an aberration for me, because from time immemorial, party members are known to project the ideology of a particular political party and to stand firmly in support of whatever party they believe on. And now that he is, I think as far as I'm concerned, he's the first in the history of Nigeria to have crisscrossed two major political parties, being a member of a PDP and at the same time serving, like you said, being a favorite minister in another political party, which is the APC. So for me, I think what we need to know as Nigerians is that party members are expected to stand firmly by the party principles and ideologies. And this is unfortunately what most of the political parties in Nigeria do not have. Most of the political parties in Nigeria do not actually have this party ideology. And that is the reason why most of the politicians have actually find it convenient to either cross carpet or doing all sorts of anti-party activities and without being penalized. Now, the institution that is meant to actually regulate the activities of these party members would have been the judiciary. Unfortunately, the positions of the judiciary today is the type that, somewhat, accommodate this kind of happening. Because ideally, if a particular individual is being elected on a party platform, for example, the legitimacy or it is the political party that was actually elected. That particular individual is only a flag bearer of that political party and a representative of the party. So the mandate is given to the party, not to the individual. So anybody that has been elected on a particular platform of a political party, if he or she wishes to cross carpet or move to another party, the ideal thing would be that he should relinquish that particular position he has been elected upon in the other party and then move into a new party as an individual. So what we found today in Nigeria is that an individual will be elected on a particular party platform, for say APC, and then suddenly, while he is, running or enjoying that particular position upon which he has been elected on, he will now eventually cross carpet to a new party, say moving to PDP, and then as he is doing that without any kind of repercussion or consequences. So this is not actually healthy as far as Nigeria's drive towards political maturity. And secondly, as citizens, my concern is actually on the citizens. You see, Nigerian citizens actually do not have the requisite electoral knowledge on understanding the need to avoid or try to understand the shenanigans of Nigerian politicians. This is because if citizens are standing firm in support of a particular political party, they are expected to simply work towards the victory of such a political party. And the leadership of the party is very, very key in this particular regard. The leadership of the party are the ones that are supposed to ensure that the party's principles or party's ideology is applied on every member of the political party, right from the party leadership and then to those who are going to eventually emerge as flag bearers of the parties, in various elections at the federal level, at the state level, and local government.
Yeah, Suleiman, I quite agree with you on the issues of ideologies and how the Nigerian electorates need better knowledge on how to hold their elected leaders accountable. But on the part where the parties are also empowered by their constitutions to sanction individuals for alleged anti-party activities, we find out that only a few politicians are sanctioned. The FCT minister has dared his party, the PDP, to sanction him if they may. Now, once this PDP has been able to issue sanctions to the likes of Senator Dino Melaye, it almost seems as though the PDP cannot dare touch the garment of the FCT minister. Why is this so?
Now, the reason is not actually far-fetched. You see, I think in the aftermath of 2011 elections, you see, a lot of, immediately, I think in the aftermath of 2015 elections or thereabout, 2011 elections, immediately after the 2011 election, you remember the post-election violence that actually greeted that particular election, especially from the northern part of the country. A lot of politicians decided to begin to, move in their mass, to leave PDP and begin to in search of a new party that is going to come up on board. And as at the time PDP was left, PDP became an orphan political party. So it was Nyesom Wike that single-handedly ensured that the party structure continued to exist by paying the salary of this political party, staff of the PDP, and then doing everything to make sure that PDP continued to remain as a political party. Otherwise, by now, PDP would have probably, dissolved. So this particular act he did, coupled with the resources that he has in his disposal, have actually gave him a position or an opportunity to be able to determine, the state of affairs of the party or the direction in which the party, is taking. And more so to the fact that most of Nigerian who are actually members of political parties are actually doing so, or they are belonging to the party simply because of what they can earn, actually. If not, even if, despite the fact that Wike have actually made this kind of contribution, the ideal thing would have been is that Wike should, in a honorable way, he should honorably, identify himself with a particular political party. Some analysts will, or some individuals may feel it is not a bad idea for Wike to be in PDP as a stakeholder and also, function in the government or participate in the government of APC because of the need for national transformation. It is a fact. You cannot take it away from Wike. Wike is a seasoned politician.
Yes,
And
Suleiman,
the fact that
thank you. Just not to cut you, so that we also carry Hashim along. Thank you for establishing that fact. He's more like lean towards the position you're making of he who pays the piper detects the tune.
Yeah.
In this comment he has made about the role the FCT minister had kept in sustaining the PDP.
Yeah.
But at this time, when we're looking at the need for a party of national unity in some sort, is this a statement towards what can be achieved in terms of national unity regardless of party lines?
Yeah, the thing is, I like one particular word that he kept using, in ideal condition. That means ideal is not real, is not reality, And I think part of the problems we have with conversations in Nigeria is we want to use idealism to trump over reality. Look, even when you talk about ideology, let us not sit here and isolate Nyesom Wike to probably be the one that does not. How many people even have ideology in every other endeavor of this country's activities? So ideology is something that you scarcely find. Now that's on one part. Two is, if Nyesom Wike has done any offense to his party, like he's saying ideally that it's an offense, and so the People's Democratic Party is made up of 36 state chapters and the FCT, made up of tons and tons of individuals. Wow, it's a democracy. Where are the voices of all of this chunk of individuals? Could they appear to have endorsed it? So if they have endorsed it, so that means
maybe following the salaries he paid, which
perhaps that's what I'm saying. So can you now see that? So we cannot isolate him and make it. It is this system. That's what the system is all about, and that's why, for example, some of us at One Heart Initiative, all we keep encouraging every day is what? If you feel that you possess that level of ideology and integrity, then please throw your heart in, so that we will populate the system with people who have got integrity and that ideology. So perhaps with time we'll be able to change the audience table. But as far as it is right now, this is what it is, right? It is about how you're able to play the game well, have people to be on your side, have people to not protest and say, no, we want him out. Because if the members of the party actually did want Mr. Nyesom Wike, and then coming back to the question you now asked about national unity, oh yes, indeed. In fact, I particularly, the other time the president was in Enugu, from his Christmas break, I think he proceeded to Enugu to do some commission. And he said it pointedly there that when it comes to governance, he does not care about party creed. He does not care about what party you come from. All that matters is, and I think those kind of statements, all they do is they will engender unity. They will instill hope in people to actually even remain where they are and try to be good citizens. Because if you are a good citizen, people will see it. So perhaps maybe Wike is only also benefiting from his being a very active and productive democratic individual. What he did in Rivers, and now again what he's doing in FCT. So people are now having reasons to cling up to him, and wherever he goes, perhaps they will go with him. So I think it's about, again, that need. And he also mentioned it, the PhD, the doctor also mentioned about the fact that there needs to be absolute electoral emancipation. People have to understand more about democratic ways, and then we also have to appropriate our expectations that Nigeria's democracy is just how many years old, maybe 20 something years now, or getting to 30 years, something like that. And so it's not enough time to have matured to the level of Americas, and even the America itself that is over 200 years, they still have their own challenges. We can see from the last election with the divisions and all of that. So some of the things that you see are natural. They will come with politics, they will come with democracy, but then again, electoral emancipation and awareness will do a whole lot of difference.
Well, Dr. Suleiman, coming back to you, and it's on the subject of anti-party allegations and the role of constitutional punishments under political parties in Nigeria. The All Progressive Congress seem to be one party that does not fear punishing individuals for anti-party activities. Well, it may seem as though Doctor stepped away from his system to probably take a break or one or two. I'll come back to you. The APC, at the start of this year, punished one of the high-ranking individuals that the party has, a two-time governor of Osun State, a former Minister of Interior. I'm talking about Ogbeni Aregbesola.
Yes.
And they outrightly suspended him and blatantly stated that it was in breach of Article 21 of their party's constitution. Without much deliberation, the decision was seen to have been vetted and passed.
Before that, even the chairman of the party and the secretary now, Oyemishore and Abdullahi Adamu, give way. Remember?
Yes. It almost seems as though the APC takes its decision without fear or favor of whose ox is God or whose individuals is in question.
No. So I think the thing is, if you look at some of those suspensions, like for Rauf, it was done from his own word. And so I think the party constitution is clear that the ward also executive, they have a right to sit and deliberate on their matters. Doesn't mean they will now have to come and get a counter approval from Abuja or anything like that. So I mean, that's normal. Look, politics is local. You would have to go back home and make sure you're in good term with your people, with your party members.
No matter how high-ranking.
Yeah, because that, like I told you again, if the decision that was taken on Rauf was not appropriate, we would have all seen protests taking place in Osun or his constituency saying, no, we don't agree, we didn't do it. But did you hear anything like that? So since you didn't hear anything like that, it's democratically okay. That means definitely the decision must have been taken by the majority and they approve of it, and that's fine. But is it even surprising to anybody who's observing? No, it shouldn't be, because in the last governorship elections, Rauf Aregbesola did not support Oyetola, and that was what led to Oyetola losing. So perhaps then the party people felt that he wasn't productive anymore, and so they can sell him. And so they can. So nobody is indispensable in politics. But what's most important is you have to hold on to your people. You have to be appropriately calculative, and I think that's where people like Nyesom Wike are getting it right. They are calculative. They understand what is to come, and they are aligning appropriately. Otherwise, people like Rauf Aregbesola, if they didn't miscalculate or probably didn't, do the things, they would have probably been some of the people running the government, because he was one of the most closest persons. I lived in Osun I was in Osun when the court gave back Aregbesola his victory from the PDP. Then when Oyinlola was governor, and he continued. So they're actually that close. But then again, you have to make sure your calculations are, and that's why you see a lot of the politicians also trying to group themselves now, the Erufais they miscalculated at some point, and so you have to reap the consequences of your actions, and that's all about it.
Let's stay with the APC as it concerns more calculations. Quite recently, we saw a visit by a northern group to the APC national chairman, Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje, and it's comments he made following that visit that drew some reactions from the Arewa Consultative Forum and others. It was about the presidency in 2027 and the fact that he said there's no vacancy. Anyone not seeing any ambitions to consider ambition dead on arrival. It's coming in the wake of conversations on southeast.
Yeah, but of course, and that's why I said your words will come to pick up on you. So if people like Nasiru El-Rufai had said that they do agree that there's a gentleman agreement for power to move from the north to the south, and it was on the account of that they promoted Asuwaju to emerge as the candidate, Why is he dropping midway? These are the questions. And those are the questions that I think Abdullahi Umar Ganduje are also speaking of. If you are for the equity, and that's why I told you earlier that when you want to speak about ideology or integrity, is a whole lot of people in this country who request for that ideology and integrity from you are not ready themselves to deliver on the same coin. So they need you to deliver something that they are not ready to deliver upon, and that it just won't work. So that's why you have to be calculative. You have to know what it is that you're on and about. So the conversation, those people on that other side have already been defeated, because you cannot now come halfway and now say that. And it's not like they're even coming out straight to say, because it's even better when you come out to say straight that, okay, no, it's an ethnic agenda, and so we want the presidency to come back to the North. No, they're making it look as if the North is angry, and so. But what are you angry about? Can you be specific? Nobody can be specific about it. If they say it's hunger, the hunger they say is all over the land. I'm still looking for the hunger, though. I can't see it, because I actually not one of those who believe people sleep without eating unless they want to. Unless you want to be a beggar, then of course you might. But I think even the beggars see 1 naira, 2 naira when they go out on the streets and all that. So for me is these people.
But on that point, are you saying that the cost of living, in your perspective, is not harder on Nigerians?
No. So the thing is, so now, the person selling that maize that you're seeing that is expensive, guess what? He's a Nigerian like you. So if you go and ask him now, for him, he might have a different perspective about the matter, because he's making more money. Why? Because maize is expensive. Do you understand the point I'm trying to say? So it's not like the cost of these items is in isolation. It's some sort of a being on its own. It is the same Nigerians who own the supermarkets. There are Nigerians working in them.
But so as much as in regards to the purchasing power parity, especially with the minimum wage and what many are complaining.
Yes. So the thing is now beautiful. Let's now come to, for example, if you say minimum wage now, you're probably only restricting yourself to civil service, because those are the ones that hold on to that like a Bible. Do you understand what I mean? So, and the civil service is what it is. I think it's a conversation that is ongoing. Back in the days, if you look, what they used to do to the civil servants is you have a staff quarters, you have an official car, so all of those other expenses that have been taken away from you, so perhaps your salary, you could only use it to do some field, and the public schools are equally working, so you don't even need to pay school fees and all of that. I think that it's a repair that is happening in Nigeria right now. Perhaps we'll get back to all of those days. We're seeing so many things that hitherto were dropped, like local government autonomy now, they dropped it. Now it's been brought back. Do you understand what I mean? It's a good thing. We like something like that. So again, perhaps going forward again, you will begin to see how this, but if you're talking about the private sector, especially the informal, and that's why you see the whole inflation rate now, because they incorporated everything that hitherto was not being measured. There are a lot of informal activities going on in the economy that initially were not being measured, like all of these grains. Now people will just go to Kano or somewhere, buy grains or buy cows, because all of those transactions are probably not going through the banks and all that. You may not be able to know, you're not taxing them, so you may not be able to punch them on your statistical data and all that. But now they're saying bring all of those, and all those sectors that you're seeing, they're actually functioning. I bet you people who sell akara by the road and all that, they've all upped their prices, and people are still coming to still patronizing. So it's more like a cycle kind of. So the only thing we're encouraging again and again. This morning I was just jogging and I saw some white man with his bag in my estate and about to go out for his work, and I did the video and I put it out on my to say, look, this is somebody from another country coming to your own country and putting in work. Why not you? You have to pick out something that you want to do. And if you go out to the streets, one thing about Nigeria is there's patronage. We see it everywhere. We go to the supermarkets, there's still queues. We go to buy chicken at Mesuya, there are still queues. If you go out to the gardens every evening, they're still full. So activities are actually still happening. Do you understand what I mean? So, and most importantly is that nobody's life is going to be subsidized no more. That's the truth of the matter.
We'll come to that in a bit, but it seems as though Dr. Suleiman has rejoined the conversation. Doctor, are you back with us?
Yes, thank you very much.
Well,
apologies for the
No problem. We
Okay.
clearly understand. Now, we're talking about the APC and its position as it concerns the 2027 presidential election off the back of comments by its national chairman, Dr. Alhaji Abdullahi Ganduje, who said that the party has a gentleman agreement that power will continue to oscillate, but for now, it will stay with the South. And that anyone nursing an ambition from the North going into 2027 should consider that ambition dead on arrival. It may have not sat well with quite some groups. We've seen reactions with statements from the ACF and some other northern groups. What do you make of this development?
Well, for me, you see, Abdullah Umar Ganduje, chairman of APC, has just done his bid, or he's actually performing his functions as the chairman of the national chairman of APC, by trying to draw the attentions of the northerners that anybody that is vying for the position of the presidency should bury his, intention, or bury his plans until after 2027. Now, what you should, as citizens, what we should look into is, while some believe that it will be too early for us to actually begin to assess the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. However, with the nature of policies and programs, the APC government under Bola Ahmed Tinubu is actually flourishing. It is actually policies that have been receiving a lot of backlashes, especially looking at the subsidy removal issue, which has actually, brought, a lot of untold hardship to the citizens. But the truth of the matter is, there's nothing, there's nowhere in any part of those world where, there is no changes in terms of price. A lot of things are changing. So the truth of the matter is, for me, I'm actually in support of the removal of the subsidy. But the way in which the subsidy was actually removed is what I'm actually not happy with, or what I'm not really in support. In an ideal situation, knowing fully of the fact that there is poverty in the land, there is inequality, there is high rate of illiteracy and all of that, what the government of Tinubu ought to have done is to see how they can put the necessary infrastructure in place to be able to, mitigate the, the consequences, or, the pains that may eventually come with the removal of the subsidy. But the government just, in a rash way, remove the subsidy, and then without putting, practical policies,
measures in check.
Or programs that can actually.
The CNG initiative and its adoption was one that was supposed to somewhat shoulder the pains of subsidy removal in terms of ease of transportation. But up until now, it has not delivered. I don't know if that's one of the points you're looking to make. But bringing me to my next question is the fact that people say there is quite a diverse reflection of where the political class is on this situation and where the common man is. Whilst the common man and the masses are suffering from these pains, the political class is defecting to the APC and more like giving a thumbs up to these policies. What do you say in that regard? Is there a division in terms of how we feel this pain following subsidy removal?
Yes, the thing is, if you look at the trends of Nigerian politics, it is about what the political class feels. The interests of the political class, of course, will always prevail. However, nobody can tell with the poverty and inequality the people have been subjected to in Nigeria. You never can tell that 2027 is going to also be another turning point. We cannot just tell. So, but the truth of the matter is, the government actually have the chance of actually changing the gear, or try as much as possible to put the necessary things in place to be able to reduce the pains of the citizenry. And again, with the way the level of politicians are defecting from other political parties to APC, the interests of the elites, what you need to understand is the fact that the elites are actually a different group of people, and whatever position they take is actually the position that will eventually prevail. However, there are certain situations where the citizens will be up and try as much as possible to ensure that their own will prevails, and that is when the citizens comes out in mass to vote the party they feel is the ideal party that is capable of actually bringing Nigeria out of the woods.
Doctor, this brings us to our final segment on this discussion, and it's citizen participation in democratic governance from the angle of party participation as well. In 2023, we saw the demographics: 91 million registered voters out of a country with a population of well over 210 million people. How many of those persons are card-carrying members? Yes, voters' card is one of the steps in the right direction to be able to participate in the elections, but to contribute to these conversations of party ideology, which you started, many say that we need more youths to be card-carrying members of political parties in the first instance. I don't know if you agree to this, or do you beg to differ?
Indeed, I agree with this particular position of yours. The truth of the matter is the youth have to, going by the demographic, advantage youth have in the country, they need to actively participate. You just gave a rundown of the statistics of the total number of voters that participated in the last election. It is a fact that a larger chunk of the Nigerian citizens, especially the youth, have actually expressed apathy within the political system. And this is unconnected with the fact that they have participated in previous elections, they have contributed their quotas, but eventually they get disappointed by the nature of the leadership system that eventually emerge. So this is another opportunity that is coming in 2027 for the youth to actually stand firm to ensure that power is actually given to those who deserve to occupy the corridors of power, so that at the end of the day, their aspirations and wishes are going to be attained. Well, the failure to do that is actually going to, portray a very negative, consequences or negative, omen on the part of the Nigerian youth. And at the end of the day, it's not actually going to go well, because it will bring about increase in the level of antisocial activities, and at the end of the government that will eventually emerge might not necessarily be the government that is actually ready to mainstream the youth in governance cycles.
Doctor, we'll be back to you to get your parting shots. Please stay with us. We'll get your parting shots in a bit, but let me come to you, Hashim. This talk of youths inclusive in party politics, many look at it from the angle of cost. We keep saying the youths are the future leaders, but if you look at the cost of what they call them now, forms,
telecom,
indication of interest forms, nomination forms as well. I don't think too many youths who don't have political godfathers can actually afford those forms or even vie to run for offices.
Okay, great. So first of all, I want to just
borrow from
like react to some of the things he said.
Will permit us
just briefly, and I just want to say that I see Nigerians always talking about how they want government to do this and that and this, but what I see them never talk about is the revenue, because you cannot spend what you don't have. Already before Buhari left, we're already servicing our debt with almost over 90% of our revenues, right? So when I see people saying that, yes, I agree, subsidy should be removed, but the method is they should have done this and that, those things you want to be done with what? There was nothing left to do all of those things. So subsidy had to be taken out, and then already the economy is responding to all of that, and we're thankful for it. But coming back to youth participation, nobody is saying that because you're participating you must contest. I personally I participate in the system. I'm not necessarily interested in going to contest.
Vie for office.
Yeah, so
but
the thing about
member of a political party.
No, but I would always objectively align to things that I see that are workable. For example, I am an advocate of the Aswaju economical ideology, and so therefore I do like it and I'll promote it, right? And so that means I'm participating in this. So participating does not mean that you have to buy those nomination forms, and that's why also we're encouraging entrepreneurship. And that's why we even encourage that people who should be participating in governance, that should be appointed or that should be contesting, should be people who have excelled in something else, right? So they will come, perhaps if you have excelled in something else, and bring that work of experience to managing the public good. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a member of a political party or something related to that. So these are the things we are advocating, that people, and instructively now, let me say this as a pattern, or maybe if you need me to still part, is that economy, the state of the economy of the people in Nigeria does not yet influence how they vote. Already, even before Buhari, so sad, before Buhari left, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that because people have a perception that the economic situation is not good, is not a pointer to how the election will go. Already during Buhari, Nigeria already had the highest number of people below poverty line. But regardless of that, what happened? APC still won. So I need people to really understand.
Well, Hashim, I must thank you for your comments on the show. Let's just cross over very quickly to Dr. Suleiman in less than a minute. Your parting shots.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I would have actually loved to make a little comment over what he just, his last comment over how economic system or structure do not necessarily affect the voting patterns of elections in Nigeria. I am very sure the presenter, I'm sure you would actually differ on this. The truth of the matter is, right from when Nigeria eventually, returned to civilian administration in 1999, elections have actually been determined by economic factors. This is because most Nigerians, before they even go out on election day, they would have prepared their mind. In fact, on the positions of election, during elections, that is when they will now come out with their PVCs and indicating that this PVC is for sale. It is the highest bidder that will eventually get elected. So my party would finally, please, I would encourage the Nigerian youth to actually participate. And by participation, I mean they should struggle to see how they can be able to get these nomination forms and contest these elections. Gone are the days where we allow this, each individuals to continue to define the state of affairs in the country, and at the end of the day, we are still where we are. I think by the time we begin to give a new leaf into the new system, you see other countries around the world that are bringing in new leaders, under 40s and all of that. It will actually going to bring a lot of inject a lot of new breeds into the system, and this will go a long way to
Thank you very much, Dr. Suleiman. Thank you. I'm hoping that we can revisit this conversation some other time. Quite interesting points you've raised. We appreciate you. And thank you to you, Hashim, as well.
Far too kind.